Hi guys, today I have a decluttering related video to share with you. I've gotten lots of comments and requests to do more decluttering type videos, and you don't have to ask me twice. I love doing these. Today I wanted to talk about decluttering your fantasy self. I think this topic is so fascinating, and I've always been aware that I have like an imaginary version of me, but I didn't realize that it was actually like a thing with a term that lots of people had until I came across the term fantasy self in an article about 6 months ago, and I've wanted to do a video talking about it ever since. Your fantasy self is the person that you envision yourself being or becoming, and learning to distinguish between real me and fantasy me has made an incredible difference in the process of letting go of stuff, decluttering, and keeping what I really do actually use and need in my life. For example, maybe you have a yoga mat and all kinds of cute yoga gear, but you never do yoga, and maybe you don't even really like doing yoga. But fantasy you gets up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to go do sunrise yoga before going and having brunch with the girls. And real you has been sure for a long time now that you're gonna start doing that sunrise yoga really soon, just this next Sunday. And it's been a couple years and you haven't gone. That's your fantasy self. Or maybe you're somebody who loves to cook, or you like the idea of cooking, and in a perfect world, you would have time every single evening to put together a lavish feast for yourself and your family. So you have tons of kitchen gadgets. You have like all the different mixers, the blenders, the choppers, I clearly don't cook very much. Maybe in reality you don't cook very much, or you don't have time to cook very much, or maybe when you do have time to cook, you would rather get takeout instead. All of that extra kitchenware belongs to your fantasy self. I personally have a weirdly specific fantasy self. I have held on to so many items for just the strangest, most specific scenarios, especially in my wardrobe. I had a sweater that was like a really loose open knit that was definitely too open to wear without something underneath it, and I hate layering like tank tops under sweaters and stuff like that, so I never wore it because I hated layering. But I was like, this would be really cute over a swimsuit. It was a nice sweater, so I wouldn't really wear it to the beach where it was gonna get like really sandy. So I held on to this sweater thinking this would be really nice if I was like sailing. Like I was on a boat and I needed like a sweater to put on over my swimsuit. Now, to be clear, I don't own a boat. I don't have close friends who own a boat. Boating is not a regular activity of mine, but I held on to this sweater because I was like, I can definitely see myself like on a sailboat with my hair like in the wind and like this chunky sweater, and it'll be perfect for when I go do that. Another part of my wardrobe that I was really bad about for a long time was high heels. I used to have so many pairs of heels, and I would say I wear high heels, like actual high heels, maybe 4 times a year. I don't really like them. They aren't really comfortable, and I live in the city, so I walk everywhere. They aren't practical to wear really anywhere if I'm walking. So let's say 4 days a year I wear high heels. That's roughly 1% of the year, and yet looking at my shoe collection, it was probably a third high heels, which makes absolutely no sense. But the way I was always sucked into them is you see this beautiful heel in the store and you try them on, and they're always so pretty and flattering when you put them on. And I would look at these heels and I'd be like, well, these will be really great when I'm like sitting on a rooftop in Manhattan sipping cocktails. I think it's hard to declutter your fantasy self because it feels like you're giving up on that dream of becoming that person. But what I try to keep in mind is, generally speaking, what I'm getting rid of is replaceable. I'm not getting rid of one-of-a-kind items. So for example, right now I'm debating getting rid of my skis. I've had a pair of skis for over a decade now, and I don't really ski. I do like skiing, but the years go by. I think I've skied maybe twice in the last 5 years. I really don't use my skis, and especially living in the city, living in a small space, storing outdoor sporting gear that you don't use takes up a lot of room. But I look at those skis and I see myself up on the mountain, fresh snow. I see myself sitting in a little cafe at the end of the day, sipping hot cocoa with like flushed cheeks from the crisp air. Fantasy me is a little snow bunny skiing all winter long. But what I'm trying to tell myself is, even if I get rid of my skis, it doesn't mean I can't ever go skiing again, or I can't ever become that snow bunny on the hill if I really want to. If I want to go skiing, if a trip comes up, I can always rent. And maybe at another point in my life, if I do decide to really get into skiing, I can probably buy another pair of skis or get some at a ski swap or something. It's not like me parting with the skis that I have now is just writing off skiing for the rest of my life. Same with maybe the yoga mat you haven't used for a few years, or the cookware that hasn't been touched and is covered in dust. So now when I'm decluttering, I ask myself, is this real me or is this fantasy me? If you've never heard of the concept of a fantasy self, I hope that this video was really interesting. I know that once I realized that it was an actual thing and I acknowledged it, it completely changed the way that I look at the items that I own. I feel like everybody has a bit of a fantasy self, and I would love to know what yours is, if there's something that you hold on to or you buy a lot because you have some fancy scenario in your head like I do that you'll use it then. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.